In late 1987, the motor vessel Neladan left the port of Hobart, beginning yet another journey to a storm-lashed oceanic mountaintop, which emerges from the Great Southern Ocean at a point some 1,500 kilometres southeast of Tasmania. The first recorded visit to this island was by the Australian sealer Frederick Hasselberg of the brig Perseverance in July 1810. His discovery of huge colonies of fur seals, elephant seals and penguins led to the immediate and ruthless exploitation of these animals for their skins and oil until 1919, when rapidly dwindling numbers of these species made further harvesting uneconomical. A number of scientific expeditions have visited the island, including the Australian Antarctic expedition of 1911 to 1914, led by Douglas Mawson. Mawson established a radio link station on the island. The Inari Research Station was established by the Australian government at the northern end of the island in 1948, making it the oldest permanently occupied Inari station. Neladan dropped anchor in Buckles Bay mid-afternoon on the 1st of December 1987. Soon after, the 1988 party began to go ashore to start the process of handover. The long daylight hours of the Sub-Antarctic summer allowed an early start to cargo operations, with the Army larks plying the trade route to and from the ship until early evening, and the station quietened for a well-deserved dinner and some rest and recreation. The new day brought gale-force easterly winds, forcing the lark crews to suspend cargo transfer about mid-morning. At about 6 p.m, disaster struck. The unbelievable had happened. Neladan had dragged her anchor, and within minutes she had been blown onto the reef-strewn shore. As the lark crews valiantly struggled to evacuate the stricken ship, the people ashore made urgent preparations to tend to injured or hypothermic evacuees. Amazingly, there was no loss of life or serious injury. That night, an aura of shock and disbelief pervaded the station. Emergency stores had to be broken out and sleeping space for 103 persons found. But by 2:30 a.m, everyone had been found floor space or better in almost every building on the station. Normal station activities virtually halted until the motor vessel Icebird, on her way home from Casey Station, arrived on the 8th of December to repatriate 74 people to Tasmania. The business of deciding Neladan's future began in earnest with the arrival of the salvage team on the motor vessel Lady Lorraine on December 13. As Lauritsen Line and Antarctic Division representatives engaged in delegate negotiations, the salvagers refloated and stabilised Neladan, raising hopes that more cargo could be retrieved. Unluckily, Neladan developed a serious starboard list, and she was immediately towed far out to sea. The following morning, Christmas Eve, Nella was still afloat, but the issue was put beyond doubt when the little red ship caught fire. By mid-afternoon she had been burnt to the waterline and her holds flooded with tons of seawater by the Lady Lorraine's fire hoses. Only then did Nella Dan give up the fight. It was the end of an era, the final curtain for a sturdy ship that had travelled more nautical miles in Antarctic waters than any other and had given 27 years of unfailing support to Australia's Antarctic endeavours. It was a subdued group that faced a grey, wet Christmas morning. But many days of toil and trouble by Chef Michael had culminated in an attractively decorated mess, a sumptuous lunch, and of course a visit by Santa.
What lovely presents we got.
After Christmas, some overdue time out was taken by many people to visit some of the nearer tourist spots, with Nuggets Beach being an early favourite. New Year's Day. Haggis throwing is a well-established Macquarie Island tradition, a test of balance and hand and eye coordination. At the end of the day, it's the scavenging skuas that are the winners. With the festive season now behind us, attention turned to the station's work program. Building renovations and new projects, scientific field work and equipment upgrades, as well as the daily routines that keep a community functioning. Our neighbours were also busy, nest building and mating. Royal, king and gentoo penguins and elephant seals were our constant companions around the isthmus, their presence adding noise and colour to our surroundings. Australia Day, and the results of secretive activities in the station's workshops are revealed as expeditions prepare for the annual Garden Cove boat race. High-tech creations gained great heights and caused panic, but most craft did not survive the heavy seas and the stones lobbed in by hostile spectators. The repainting of southern Aurora Donga commenced in early February, and this brought a sudden end to our summer. But the seemingly endless procession of storms did not deter the people who had planned trips to places down the island. There are 6 field huts strategically located around the coastline. At Bower Bay, Sandy Bay, Green Gorge, Lusitania Bay, Herd Point and Caroline Cove. They provide a welcome haven for scientists and rangers and for others who seek some time away from the main station. Continuing poor weather in March provided ample incentive to work on indoor jobs, and this meant terrific progress on the refurbishment of the main mess and kitchen. Michael's territory was turned into a disaster area for many weeks, but the excellent standard of tucker continued. On March 20 and 21, a break in the rough conditions allowed the final summer resupply voyage by iceberg to replace food, equipment and building materials that had gone down with Nella. The two Larks, temporarily mothballed in December, looked fearsome after a repaint, courtesy of the island's artist community. With the late arrival of our chippy, Don Reed, our team for the next 8 months was complete. Extensions to the radio shack and the start of works on the new satellite communications Earth station were now top priority, with plenty of smaller tasks competing for time as well. The arrival of Anzac Day meant hot toddies and games of two-up. Followed by the Anzac Marathon, a lung-busting relay obstacle course running the gauntlet of flower bombs, fences, sand drifts and ambushes. In early May, much of the numerous and varied wildlife population of Macquarie Island takes to the sea to escape the harshness of the island's winter. Only a few species, such as the king penguin and the seals, leave small populations behind. At about this time, leopard seals, thin and exhausted after long journeys from Antarctica, are occasionally spotted recuperating on the island's kelp and boulder strewn beaches. We put a target cross down of orange plastic that was about 2. On the 4th of May, the Royal Australian Air Force successfully completed the first of 3 scheduled airdrops in gale force winds. Cleaning up is a chore. The rewards are fresh food, mail and stores. On May 13, winter arrived, and with it came a 12-day big freeze. The May weather summary said it all. Days of strong wind, 28. Days of precipitation, 31. Average daily sunshine, 0.8 of 1 hour. Lowest temperature, minus 6.8 Celsius. As the snows slowly thawed, people began to venture outdoors again. Karen, carrying out an archaeological program for the Tasmanian government, tried to ignore the menacing weather as she chipped away at digs close to home. What I've got they used to call the blues. Glenn and Peter ventured onto the North Head cliffs to count sooty albatross chicks. Walking around some kind of lonely cloud. Rainy days, Mondays, June. Daylight hours were now very short. Steve needed no urging to stay within the warmth and safety of his workshop, whilst next door, the upper atmospheric boffins studied the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and philosophised about the meaning of life. With the halfway point of our stay well in sight, It was understandable that some people could be feeling somewhat like this fellow. Some desperados tried to escape to Australia, but were spotted and restrained by the Buckles Bay Surf Patrol. Our traditional celebration of midwinter on the 21st of June was a memorable one. The festivities started with an afternoon of fierce contest, both outdoors and indoors. Later, a 6-course dinner was enjoyed by all, with John, Kim and Andrew providing mellow musical interludes. The usual midwinter presentation of Cinderella was passed over in favour of the inauguration of the Macquarie Island television service. The mess was packed and all present gazed on in rapture as the show began.
Picture show man, we want to see the things we've never seen, all shining on the silver screen. Oh, picture show man, turn off the lights and chase our cares away. Picture show man, with a cheerful song. Someone's first Uncle Karen today. All together now. If you want some first Uncle Karen.
At the end of prime time viewing, our entertainment switched to live folk music until breakfast time, with biologist Dave leading the revelry.
The deaf can take both my ears if they don't mind the size.
With the midwinter behind us, the delicate balance between work and play was resumed, as Bob again roamed the wildest parts of the island and his trusty assistants watched for ferals closer to home. Bio Dave and his helpers now kept watch for the return of bull seals, fitted with a tracking and recording device, which he hoped would shed some light on the seals' travel and diving habits. The most was made of the very rare occurrences of fine weather. Some indulged in Sunday drives, whilst others ventured onto North Head to observe the fur seal colonies, or perhaps to sit quietly on the headland, gazing over the vast ocean and thinking of families and friends. Other people were happy to remain behind and assist the Chief Brewmaster, Graham, to maintain high production levels of the very popular local ale and to be part of the quality control team. In another corner of the station, Glenn kept tabs on the stocks of other riches which were kept in Fort Knox. Steve, the dieso, got more than he bargained for when he tackled the replacement of the old fuel-pumping hose reel. However, with some help from the friendly neighbours, he soon unravelled the problem. As the date of the third airdrop approached, station interest in the weather came sharply into focus. The 22nd of August brought fierce winds and blizzard conditions, which made life hell for the RAF pilots and dispatchers. But they stuck to their task doggedly, and over a 2.5-hour period, delivered most of our precious goods in spectacular fashion. With the first voyage of the 1988-89 season expected in late October, Don and Ted accelerated work on the construction of the massive foundation platform for the satellite facility. Their task was made easier with the help of volunteer labourers. One morning in September, we awoke to an unearthly stillness and dazzling light spearing through our windows. This brief but brutal reversal to fine weather was too much, and work all but stopped as people revelled in the sun. The wildlife was now rapidly returning to our shores. The southern skuas arrived on our doorstep just ahead of the elephant seals, some of which showed signs of close encounters with larger ocean predators. Harems materialised on the beaches, with the bulls actively battling to establish their dominance.
And to the victors went the spoils.
The arrival of the motor vessel Lady Franklin, late on October 28, shattered our cocoon-like existence by more than doubling the station population overnight, and prompting a final furious burst of activity to complete the tasks allotted to the 88 group and to prepare the way for the incoming wintering group. Resupply of the island's field huts was a high priority task, and full advantage was taken of the logistical support available. Lark journeys along the coast were a first-class tourist drawcard, and there was no shortage of volunteer crew for these working holidays. On November 29, after the presentation of commemorative medallions, the station was formally handed over to the 1989 party. Shortly afterwards, the 1988 party were aboard ship and reflecting on their experiences on the great green sponge that is Macquarie Island. (1988) at Macquarie Island was a momentous year from many viewpoints. Our year began with the final voyage and, ultimately, the death of the most stored of Antarctic resupply ships, which hastened Australia's decision to build its own special purpose ship. Long periods of unusually bad weather were experienced, with many meteorological records being broken. Not since the sealing days had the island been inhabited by so many people who, at times, stretched the resources of the station to the limit. As the curtain came down on one era in the island's history, a new age began. 40 years of outdated communications technology was replaced by a state-of-the-art satellite Earth station, resulting in much improved contact between expeditioners and their families, and between headquarters and the station. For some expeditioners, such improvements are long overdue, but others fear an erosion of the decision-making autonomy of Australia's remote outposts and the eventual dissolution of the spirit of adventure that coexists with work in the far south. Only time will tell if their fears are justified.
From Lucy Bay we bid adieu to the wind and the rain and the wireless crew. The crystal set all at the fore, and we'll soon see the girls that we adore. And we are homeward bound, hurrah, we're homeward bound. And when we reach old Old Town, them black little girls, they will come down. One to the other, you'll hear them say, here comes Jack with his Roman face, and he is homeward bound, hurrah, he's homeward bound. So soon we'll be in the shipwreck town, with the pretty little Oceania. In comes Thompson with a smile, saying, drink up lads, it's worth your while. See you're homeward bound, hurrah, you're homeward bound. But when our money is all spent, no more to be borrowed, no more to be lent, in comes Thompson with a frown, saying, get up, Jack, let's on to